My name is Elias Vos, and I have walked these mountains in silence since I was 10 years old. The fire that took my parents stole my voice that same night, leaving me with only burning silence. I became a trapper, a ghost in the timber, with no home but a lean-to and my sorrow. For 17 winters, I lived among the pines, speaking to no one, my words frozen in my throat. Then, one bitter morning, while checking my snare line, I saw it. A golden thread on a branch. It shimmered like spun sunlight, snagged on the rough bark of a jack pine near the frozen creek. I untangled the fiber carefully, and something in my chest stirred, a memory of my mother's weaving loom. The thread smelled faintly of wood smoke and lavender, the scent of our old cabin before the flames devoured it. I knew this thread, impossibly, belonged to the blanket my mother had made for my 5th birthday long ago. The blanket was lost in the fire, yet here was a fragment, leading away from my trap line eastward. I decided to follow it because a trapper learns that the smallest sign can point to the biggest truth. The thread led me up a rocky ridge where I found another strand caught on a juniper bush, waiting. For days I tracked it, finding snippets tied to branches like breadcrumbs left by an unseen, merciful hand. It led past an abandoned trapper's cabin, where I found a tin cup with my father's initials scratched on it. My throat burned with the effort to cry out, but no sound came, only tears freezing on my cheeks. I continued, the thread growing stronger, as if the one who left it was now closer and more certain. On the 5th day, I crested a pass and looked down into a hidden valley I had never seen before. There, nestled in a meadow dusted with snow, stood a ranch house with smoke curling from a stone chimney. A warm, golden glow pulsed from the windows, and the golden thread ran straight through the open gate below. I descended with my heart pounding, my hands trembling, for I recognized the shape of the house from childhood. The barn, the windmill, the great oak by the porch, all of it matched my fading memories perfectly. Perfectly. A woman stepped out, her hair the color of winter wheat, and she wore a wool shawl of golden yarn. She saw me holding the thread and did not flinch or run. She simply nodded as if expecting me. I opened my mouth, desperate to speak, but only a rasp escaped, a strangled sound like a wounded bird. She walked toward me and said, "You followed the thread. I have been leaving it for 3 years now." Her name was Maria Keene, and she revealed that her late father had stolen this ranch from my family. He had driven my parents off, and they had died fleeing, but she had found the truth in his journal. Guilt-ridden, she took my mother's golden blanket from a trunk and began leaving threads along the mountain trails. She prayed someone from the Voss family would find them and come home to claim what was rightfully theirs. She expected a distant cousin or an heir, but she never imagined the mute boy would return as a man. I stood on the land that should have been mine, looking at a woman who had spent years seeking me. She invited me inside, and the hearth fire was warm, the same hearth where my mother once baked bread. I could see the scorch marks from the old fireplace, but the room was filled with her gentle, feminine care. Mariah had kept the ranch alive, repairing fences and tending the small herd, waiting for a Voss to return. She spoke to me with a patience no one had ever offered, never mocking my silence or my broken sounds. I found a slate and chalk on the table, and I wrote, "Why did you do this for strangers?" She read the words and answered, "Because my family wronged yours, and I believe in redemption through love." That winter, I stayed in the ranch's bunkhouse, helping with the cattle, and Mariah taught me to write. I filled notebooks with words I could not speak, and she read every one, her eyes brimming with understanding. By spring, I was no longer a ghost. I was a man with a home and a voice on paper. I sketched the golden thread pattern, and Mariah wove it into a new blanket, this time for us. We married under the great oak, and the preacher said words I couldn't, but my tears said yes. I learned that my silence was not a curse. It was a space where her voice could echo warmly. The valley rang with her laughter, and I found myself humming tunelessly, a vibration that made her smile. Together, We restored the Voss name, painting the sign at the gate that read, Voss Keen Ranch, home found. We discovered the golden thread had not just been a trail but a symbol of providence stitching our fates. Maria told me she had almost given up leaving threads, until one day she felt a pull to continue. I wrote, I felt a pull to check that particular snare line, which I never normally did before. We realized then that some threads are pulled by hands unseen, weaving mercy through the fabric of time. The ranch prospered, and we welcomed travelers, sharing the story of the golden thread that led home. One evening, a musician came with a violin, and Maria asked him to play my mother's favorite waltz. I could not sing along, but I tapped the rhythm on the table, and Maria danced with me. In her arms, I felt no lack. My silence was full, my heart utterly complete and understood. We had 3 children, all of whom could speak, and they called me Papa with voices like songbirds. I taught them to trap, not animals but moments of grace, to see the golden threads in life. Maria taught them to weave, and they made blankets for the poor, each one with a hidden golden strand. We found old letters in the attic proving the ranch was legally a Voss homestead, strengthening our claim forever. There was no more guilt, only gratitude that a wrong had been turned into a love story for ages. I still cannot speak aloud, but I write poems for Maria, and she frames each one on the wall. Our love is a conversation of ink and touch, of glances that carry more meaning than any shouted proclamation. The golden thread is now a family emblem, stitched into our brand, a mark of divine guidance and return. I often walk to the pine where I first found the thread, now a place of pilgrimage and prayer. Maria joins me sometimes, and we stand in silence, listening to the wind that once carried a thread. Now it carries the sound of our children's laughter from the valley, a hymn of restoration and joy. The stolen heritage is reclaimed, not just in land but in the legacy of forgiveness and mutual care. If you ask me what defines a home, I will write, not walls, but the thread of love pulling. Maria says the thread was always golden because it came from a mother's blanket, woven with lullabies and prayers. I believe it was dipped in the very light of heaven, bright enough to pierce my long, cold silence. Every night, we sit by the hearth, and she reads aloud from my notebooks, making my words audible. I watch her lips shape my soul's voice, and I am no longer a mute trapper, but a bard. We have turned tragedy into a tapestry, and the golden thread runs through every chapter of our days. Please subscribe to Stories Hub Official, smash that like button, and ring the bell for more frontier tales. Tell me in the comments below what golden thread you have followed, or what thread you are leaving now. May your own lost home be found, and may love be the thread that guides you back, always.